If you're a serious hunter and you haven't tried Hex yet, this is the edge you're missing. Hunters have always talked about animals having a sixth sense, feeling you before they ever see you. Hex works by completely blocking your body's natural energy, helping you get closer without tipping them off. Most hunters don't believe it at first, until they hunt in it. And once they do, oh, it makes them believers fast. Go to hexhunting.com. That's HECS hunting.com. And use code WAYPOINT to save $20 on a full Hex system.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. All
right, so we're going to talk about unwanted guests. Basically, something is always trying to eat your food. You know,
like your mother-in-law.
Really, who's going to get to eat it, me or somebody else? And that may be mice, that may be, the coyotes that come and eat my chickens, that may be, anything. We're going to talk about how to protect your homestead from these unwanted predators and basically ways that you can actually, prep your food so that it's a little less accessible, desirable, that kind of stuff. So let's kind of just jump right into it. So we're going to talk a bunch of categories. We're going to talk about, with your, how to protect your livestock from predators. We're going to talk about your garden from predators. We're going to talk about your food storage or your pantry from predators, all that stuff. And we'll kind of go through in stages and then just jump into it. So Kevin, the first thing I think that comes to mind when I think about, well, at least to approach it in a logical way. I mean, I think we always think mouse traps is the first thing that comes to mind. Right. But the first thing you can do is you need a secure place to keep your food storage. Right. And I think we're going to secure it on several levels. We might be able to do a better job here. So first, you want the perimeter of your house to be secure. Nobody wants mice in your house, right? Or rodents, or squirrels, or, who knows? You've all had that squirrel in the attic that is running around. Kevin, I know you had a story one time about squirrels getting in your house.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know. It was a long time ago. I don't remember how I got them out of there, but yeah, it's not great having animals live in your roof because you hear them all night.
That's it. And they just get you. And what's weird is like, you're like, oh, I'll close it up. And then do they just die inside your house? Like that doesn't, So
it's not great.
The first thing I think when it comes to dealing with rodents getting in your food storage is to secure the perimeter of your house. And you really can like walk around and look for entry points and weak points. And this is something you're going to want to do. Start with the outside of your house, but then the inside of your house. And it's a little bit easier for you Yankees who all have basements, because that's one level of protection is you don't have them coming up from the ground, right?
That's from underneath.
That's a little safer. When you're in the Southland, a lot of us have like houses that are kind of in the air and you have a whole other layer of entry points.
Right.
Anywhere that plumbing goes through your floor, anywhere that your dryer vent, I think dryer vent is where it gets me at my house. It is one of the big spots that they go in my mind. I've read this somewhere and I think it to be true. I don't know if it's the absolute, but think of it as under your house is a very dark crawl space. And when you have lights on in your house, it's like a beacon, like a flashlight saying, hey, come in over here. This is the spot.
Right.
And that's how I imagine that the rodents are finding it. I also look at they're very small And when you look and you're small at something, you see a big hole somewhere. It's going to seem bigger to you when you're, tiny. They
Mhm.
always say like if they can fit their arm through it, their paw through it, they can usually get into it. So
Mhm.
they're pretty flexible and get into tight spots. So maybe do that. Go into the crawl space under your house, turn the lights on upstairs, and see if you can find anything that's open. Um, the best way, you want to fill it with like great stuff, something like that. You want to fill it with, they always say steel wool is great because the mice won't chew through it. Because once they kind of know there's a problem area, they kind of go back to it, even if you fill it with something. Although I got to say,
Mhm.
once I filled stuff with that great stuff, which is that foam insulation, I've never had anything come back through it. Like I've never seen it, chewed out.
Really?
Yeah, you have?
No, I
Okay.
haven't. I
Oh,
haven't.
yeah.
I
No, I
haven't
use
tried.
it and like if it's interior, like so we have like a log cabin, right? You see the logs behind me. That's how it is on the inside and the outside of my house. And you see these notches that I have are like there's like 1 inch slats in between the each beam as they kind of fit
Mhm.
together. And it doesn't make a good seal when you put sheetrock up next to it, or at least when the guy who built my house put sheetrock next to it. He leaves these little gaps, and so you got to do something there. I mean, to the outside, it's kind of good, but it,
Mhm.
there's some open areas. That's all I'm saying. And it ended up that I had to go through and put like great stuff in between those gaps and then like put caulk over it to kind of even it out and make it look pretty and not,
Mhm.
so something to think about. But you want to find all these little entry points and you want to close them up. That's a big deal because otherwise you're just kind of fighting this battle forever. Now,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Now up north, it's easy to find those spots generally because it's you know
big
10
traffic.
below zero out, and when you walk past it, you know where the air is coming from.
Absolutely. And the critters want to get in and they want to be warm. That's the thing. Anybody who's been alive knows that like if you live in the country, it's kind of like if you have a house, they're gonna get in. You open and close doors, you're in and out. They really come in when you leave the door open for a minute or two or things like that.
Mhm.
They can get in and eventually, they're gonna show up. So you want to be prepared. So again, first the perimeter of your whole house, including under the floor. Then you want to secure the room that you're gonna kind of do it. Now,
Yeah.
hopefully,
Now
if you got everything
you
else
can
right, you're
use
good, but go on, sorry.
yeah, you can use I know a lot of people talk about the diatomaceous earth doing a trail around your
Yep,
house, and that does work a lot for
yes,
insects. They also say like a 3 foot wide path of gravel or wood chips will keep a
will
lot of
deter.
the insects and
Okay.
bugs out. Just throw that out there real quick
Ants,
before
roaches, all
we
that
move
kinda
on.
stuff, that's yeah, hey,
Hmm.
and it's weird, cities, I always talk to people and they tell me, "Oh, if you live in, like, condos next to each other in the city, they'll come in and spray one house, and all the roaches just move to the house next door, and they kinda, move back
Hmm.
and forth, and it's an ongoing fight." So that's something to be aware of. All right. Next, we're going to talk about what do you do with the food itself, right? We don't just leave, your loaves of bread or whatever sitting out on the counter. We have food grade buckets. And then they have buckets with the gamma lids, which are basically the kind that unscrew like a jar. Um,
Hmm.
I use those. I don't. I use Lowe's buckets and just the lid and I seal it. Any of my long-term stuff that I'm trying to keep dry and nice, I just load buckets. But I will say if you're in and out of them, those gamma lids are awesome. They're just a little expensive. Um,
Hmm.
we and Kevin were just discussing the metal as far as like storing animal feed. I have an older farmhouse, Kevin, that I keep animal feed and stuff like that in. That's definitely not that secure. Um,
Hmm.
I have to do something internally to secure it. And I was using a rubber, Rubbermaid kind of garbage can, and that worked for a while. And then about a month ago, I go out and I find, the feed bags chewed through in the side and like corn coming out. And so that's no good. So I just switched to metal trash cans with a lid, which I know to work because out where I have my rabbits, I have a metal trash can and I've been storing it just straight outside in the metal trash can. And that's been working out great. So that's another option for like bigger items like feed bags, that kind of stuff. Glass jars with metal lids. We put a lot of things in there, like a regular canning jar, even though we're not like canning something, preserving it that way. We'll put beans, dried beans, stuff like that. It can be a little more expensive, but that really works if you have access to them and those available. Rodents will absolutely chew through plastic bags, cardboard boxes. The worst thing that I didn't realize till I moved down south is like in this old farmhouse, had some termites and stuff. And before I really sprayed good and got rid of the termites, I spray it every year, including my regular house. But and that's just something I do. I go buy the stuff from Lowe's, the $20 can. But the big thing is you want to do it like every 2 or 3 months. You don't want to, just do it once a year or whatever. You need to be on top of it. And I know, some people do once a year, and once a year is better than nothing. But anyway, we set cardboard boxes on the floor. And when I went to lift the boxes, it was like all termite all through the cardboard. So that leaving cardboard around is a no-go. So that's definitely something to think about. Another thing is shelving. I went to Lowe's and they have these like metal racks. At the time they were like $79. I think now they're like $119 or something. But we buy big storage racks and we bought a lot of them. And it depends on your budget, right? So we'd buy 2 and then 6 months later we bought another 2 and we just kept, going until we could afford to get what we want and have it set up the way we want. And the cool thing is they kept the same style. I was able to match them, over the years and keep things similar. You know how people like me who are sticklers like uniformity. You know how it is.
It's got to be the same.
It's got to be the same. My wife's always yelling at me when we lay out a garden or something. Everything doesn't have to be square and in row. It doesn't have to be like that. So, that's an option. So, all right, we have now we have our food in secure containers. We have it closed out, but still we don't want mice running around our house. That would be bad. So when it comes to rodents, peppermint oil is actually a really good deterrent. Mint plants, bay leaves, believe it or not, Irish Spring soap. If you, just buy the bars of Irish Spring and kind of scrape some slices off, you can drop those around. Maybe if it deters mice, maybe it's bad. I mean, again, it probably goes back to that mint, but they also, it really works. I mean, one, I do use mouse traps. I have traditional mouse traps. I find those plastic ones don't seem to work as good as the wood ones. They've switched to the ones with like the wood ones with the little plastic cheese plate versus the little metal tab. I haven't had any problem with the cheese plate. I do find that I end up setting them like a hair trigger, like right on the edge. Like if you just go really secure with it, where it's not going to snap your finger, then they don't always work. But if I'm like,
they don't always go off.
Yeah, a lot of times the peanut butter is gone. I always just use peanut butter. I don't know what people put on mouse traps. I know they sell stuff. I'm always the peanut butter guy. I got to say, I'll put peanut butter on it once and it'll look like they lick it all off. And I won't even reapply peanut butter because peanut butter is in my house and I'm over in the farmhouse and I just
it's too far.
It's too far. I'm not going to do it, but I'll just reset it. And I keep catching mice over and over again. They keep going back trying to lick it. It doesn't really matter, to an extent, right? And then if you're not catching anything and you're seeing mice, maybe you need to be reapplying it, right?
Yeah. Now they say that you're supposed to go and put the mouse traps unset around in different places.
Really?
And see which ones which ones have the peanut butter eaten, and then put all your mouse traps set in that area. But I I don't know what kind of mice these people have, because I always just
that
they always get set.
Right. So
maybe they don't have as many mice as I do.
So the trick is,
But
you want to put it somewhere a mouse is comfortable to go, right? So if you put it in the middle of the floor, in the middle of the room, it's going to be a lot less likely to catch something than if you put it right against the wall. Or I usually do like under the shelf against the wall, that kind of thing, somewhere they feel safe going. But mice absolutely travel along the wall's edge. And that's somewhere you want to be if you're trying to catch them. It took a trapping class in New York, and it was really great. The guys were really excellent. And usually those classes are just nonsense. And these guys were really about you catching things. And they were like, if you have a big field and you see like an old tractor sitting in the middle of the field, or an old stump right in the middle of the field, he's like, that's where you're going to want to set your trap, because that's where everything's going to be. And it would be because, hey, that's where the mice and the rodents are going to be, because they like to be around something that makes them feel safe and secure. And a big, structure is going to be like that. Then the bigger animals that you're trying to catch with your game traps are going to eat those mice. And it's always, a recurring.
I went and stopped by the spot at work and parked the car, went inside, did what I had to do, and I came out and there was blood splattered all over the side of my car.
That sounds horrible, Kevin.
What the hell happened? And I looked over, and there was a lawnmower parked next to my car, and the guy's driving the lawnmower across the lawn, and I looked over, and there's a chopped up rat that was just hanging out underneath the lawnmower, and he turned it on, and he splattered the side of my car with it. But they hide under there.
Exactly. I made the mistake when I was in Virginia Beach. I would cut my lawn in a circle, and I would let it go a lot longer than I should have. So we'll say the grass was like 18 inches, something like that. And I started at the perimeter and was going in. So basically anything inside the grass kept moving to the center, and then so they're eventually going to get stuck where, I get there. So same thing, I keep encroaching on it. And then there was this rat in the grass that was about as big as a cat. And of course, my younger boy sees it and it's like, Dad, a cat, we can keep it. That could be ours. And it didn't end well. That's all I'm saying. Just
how you traumatize children.
Traumatize children. That's not the way to be. I don't know if I mentioned it, but they have those sonic mouse traps actually that, are just the noise that keep things away. Well, they make those that are battery operated. So that's, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, in my experience, they don't really work very well.
Okay. I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. I've never used them. I always use the traditional traps. I've used the sticky traps, but they're just horrible. Things get stuck to it. Their legs come off, and sometimes you just find a foot stuck to it. Like,
yeah, I was having some at a building I worked at. I was having some mice problems and set those sticky traps up. And the guy that worked there all the time, I was said, let's get the regular traps. He said, no, the sticky traps. That's what I want. And so I got him the sticky traps. And I said, why do you want these? Like, you still have to kill them. He's like, yeah, I hate these motherfuckers. I get a pair of pliers and I just squish their head when they're on there.
Kevin, sounds horrible.
Yeah, but this is the same guy. I had a issue with, I opened up a manhole where we kept some pumps, and the pump stopped working because something chewed through the wire. And so we opened it up, and there are a bunch of mice there, and he grabbed a pitchfork and started like stabbing them all. And I said, that's
this guy.
I got to be honest with you. That's kind of gross. And then he, from then on, he was like telling everybody, he's like, he's such a pussy. He thought it was gross when I stabbed the mice with the pitchfork. I'm like,
oh, Kevin,
bro, you got problems. It's not me with the problems. It's you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't even know where to go with that one, Kevin. That's just concerning.
Well, I mean, some people hate mice more than I do, I guess.
There you go. That's really what it comes down to. Sorry, with that, there's you have the traditional snap traps. You also have poison. The big thing with poison is my wife is always worried that the dogs or whatever will go eat the dead
Mhm.
mice or moles or whatever, and then they'll get sick. My understanding, the poison is supposed to make them really thirsty and they keep going for water. So the idea is they're supposed to leave your house going to look for
Right.
water and then die somewhere else instead of in your walls. But I don't know. You need to find out what works for you and your family. But that's
Yeah.
a
And the dog has to eat a lot of rat poison to actually get
so what it
sick.
is. The
Yeah.
same thing. Chickens will eat dead mice or live mice, whatever.
Mhm.
They'll eat mice. So if you're worried about your livestock and stuff, you may want to keep the
Yeah,
poison under control.
poison can be tricky.
All right. So now let's kind of segue. If we go out to the garden and outside, fleas, ticks, these things could be coming in on the rodents. They could be in the yard. What about fleas and ticks, Kevin? What do you know?
Yeah, well, ticks are nasty. I live in what do they consider the epicenter of the Lyme disease area,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's some days where I'll go out and I'll be picking ticks off my clothes for 10 minutes afterwards. The good thing is the deer ticks that spread the Lyme disease are usually kind of big compared to most ticks, and you can like feel them crawling on you. You can usually pick them off before they get you. But they have to be in you for a couple of days
Is it that long?
before
Yeah.
you really risking getting Lyme disease. So keep your eye on those ticks, especially if you live in upstate New York. That Lyme disease can be nasty, and if you get it and you get the symptoms and you go to a doctor right away, they'll give you an antibiotic and it'll clear it right up. It's not really a big deal. It's when you get it, like a lot of people that have severe Lyme disease will get it
Yeah.
in this area and then travel to wherever they're from, like California or something. And the doctor will be like, I have no idea what this is. And they
Right.
won't be able to fix it. They won't be able to figure out what it is, and it'll end up fucking you up like bad,
Right.
long term.
That's it. We used to, I used to live where Kevin lives. So that's obviously, when we started this podcast. But yeah, they would always give me 2 pills or whatever. When you'd go to the doctor, they were like, oh, well, here's 2 antibiotic pills and it'll be fine. Ignore it and whatever, Lyme disease, matter of fact there. Although I did have a college professor that luckily I had taken a night class, and he just was like, I can't do it. I have the Lyme disease. And,
Yeah.
he's like, just don't come. You don't say anything. I won't say anything. We'll all get good grades. We'll call it good. Or he would go and start the class at like 7:00 and it was supposed to go to like 10 or something at night. And he'd be like, it's 7:30. Let's just call it and, go home. Anyway, I'm looking at the comments. Somebody put spearmint gum, that the Mennonites were putting it in the dried flour, dried goods. Again, keeping that mint smell, keeping it rodents out. Also, vacuum sealed, like the Mylar bags, that kind of stuff in the plastic bags or in the plastic buckets, or, the big totes with the locks, that kind of thing. You can do that. Again, the more secure the lids, the better your odds are going to be. So that's something to keep in mind. But so what do we do about the ticks? I mean, it's really just watching for them. Is that what you're?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, checking your body and that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean,
Obviously.
you've got to do a tick check whenever you come in. I go in a lot of places where they hang out, tall grass and leaves and things like that. And they
not a fan of cutting grass like me.
Exactly. And they'll get on you. You just have to check every day. Wash your ass, wash your balls, make sure you get everything checked out. They like to hide in warm spots on your body, armpits. That's and it. Your neck, things like that.
Yeah, it's terrifying when you find a tick on your balls.
I had a friend of mine, same friend with the mice, told me he was out in the woods pissing, And he went home, and the next day, fucking tick on the end of his dick, and he said it was the most painful tick he ever pulled out in his life. So don't, just be careful. Watch those guys. Get in a hot shower,
Again, you're looking for the bullseye rash anytime you get the red. But you're going to always kind of have that little red infection. Like you might have a red circle around the tick.
Yeah,
you're looking for the layers of clear and red, where it actually is staggered like a bullseye, that kind of thing.
And it doesn't have to be where the tick bit you. You can get bit on the leg and the rash shows up on your back. It's just how how it works. It's weird like that.
Right. And again, ticks, it's really about keeping the rodents down. That's really how you go with that. Now, the best way to get rid of both things is to have chickens or guineas or that kind of thing, guinea hens.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
They're going to make the difference. Absolutely. My property was covered with ticks when I got here. Like, no joke, you could not walk to my barn without coming back with like 2 or 3 ticks on you any day. Like, it was ridiculous. And as soon as we got chickens, within like 3 weeks, I haven't had a tick on me in a couple of years. We walk through the woods and everywhere. Like we have a like perimeter walk through our woods where it's, through forest, and that the wife and them are always out, and they still get the occasional tick, but it is very occasional and not the norm. Now it's maybe 2 or 3 a year instead of 2 or 3 every time you go outside. So yeah, chickens make a big difference.
Yeah, as far as guinea hens go, they're probably more annoying than ticks, though. The sounds they make, it's just it's like ear piercing.
Right.
I would rather deal with ticks than guinea hens, but chickens are definitely a big help with those.
All right. Well, that segues into how do we protect those chickens and livestock?
Yeah. So I've had a big problem with hawks snatching up my chickens and ducks.
Hawks and owls bite their necks. And I have one now with a big bloody neck, and it's ridiculous. He's alive, but his neck's like cocked to the side, and, walking around, and I'm like, oh man, this is not good. So yeah. So
you can't shoot or kill hawks.
Birds of
it's against the law. Like big fines for that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with them? That's the big question. So my wife is like she's like Snow White, except instead of like house mice and blue jays, it's crows and spiders.
Oh, nice.
And she somehow summoned crows to live in the woods behind our house.
And they take care of the hawks.
Anytime the hawks come through, the fucking crows go nuts and chase them off. So that was a big help. The other thing I did was I set up a scarecrow that kind of keeps them staying away. And I took some CDs and hung them from trees.
They say they're reflecting the mirror,
the reflecting thing. Just as they spin around, the light shows off of them and has, plays weird games with the light, and that fucks them up. They don't like that. So between those two things, I haven't had any major hawk attacks since.
Okay. So I thought you were going to say that your wife did some kind of witchcraft or something and put a spell on the...
I don't know how she magically made those crows show up. I don't know what kind of witchcraft she does. I know she does some weird, creepy stuff during the day when I'm at work, but I don't know what she did.
Whatever.
But there's a murder of crows that live in my backyard now.
All right. There you go. I actually have crows and hawks, so it's a big mystery of what's going on there. But, hey, you do you, right? We had actually, I had been plagued by a fox, which my best advice on getting a fox is buy a thermal scope. One, because you get a thermal scope out of it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. There were a few nights of sleeping outside in the bed of a pickup truck, just waiting, for Happy Fox to come walk by. Now he comes walking by my tree stand every night, so that's nice too. But yeah, you got to put some time in if you want to catch them. And yeah, there's some work there. But anyway,
Yeah, now they have like all sorts of bullshit like motion activated sprinklers and motion activated noise things, but those things never work, man.
I will say, I want to say they don't work at all, but I've yet to have a fox come get my things at night or mess with them ever since I have, where the eyes glow red or whatever and it flashes.
Oh yeah,
when they're
scary faces,
motion censored. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's really a thing. I know we got sidestepped here. I had started to talk about the garden, to protect the garden. Now, one of the things, have you seen these? They make chicken runs that are basically chicken run, like hoop house around the garden, like in a circle. And it basically, they eat all the insects and the pests around the garden, but nobody wants chickens in your garden. So that's kind of a delicate dance. Those are really cool if you've seen them. Again, the peppermint oil, growing daffodils in the, is it marigolds? Marigolds are the one in the garden will help things. Again, a lot of the mints and things like that will keep a lot of the pests. Oregano will keep some pests out. So look at that stuff. Kevin had mentioned the diatomaceous earth. That's really good on shelled insects, anything like that. Putting that around will, help out. So that's another way to go. Obviously, having good fences. What I do, I buy, they call it cattle fence, and I put it around the garden because I do like big volume areas. And I kind of am a little crazy. I did cattle fence, I would say that's 4 feet high. But I had put 8-foot wooden posts like every 30 feet or so. And I ran strands of electric wire, but I didn't bother to electrify it. No, you could, but around the top, but like every foot to keep deer from jumping the fence. And every once in a while, they'll jump into it and tear it all apart. And I just go back and restring it. And that's actually kind of worked. The trick, you're supposed to put those little flags on it so they can actually see the wire instead of, hey, let's find out. But I got to say, once they trip over it and fall apart, whatever, they tend to not come back. The other thing, the cattle fence is not going to stop like rabbits and little things from getting in there. So what I then did was rabbit fence, like 36 inches high, but I dug it down like a foot around the whole.
You got it. Yeah. Yep.
And I did that against the cattle fence. Now, the big thing with chicken wire is if you get in there with a weed whacker, you're just going to tear it right up, especially after it gets a little rusty or brittle.
Yeah.
And it's not going to end well. So you need
to cut a hole right through it.
Yeah. You need to, be on top of it. But I will say it's a lot of work is the answer to have good fencing. But that's how I did it. That's how I keep, rodents out. But I will say we had a groundhog in New York who I sat there with my gun and watched would climb up the fence, just scale it like whatever. He thought he was like a commando or something and going over and in and, so, then it's camping out with a gun, right?
Yeah. Now, one of the things that they don't like that kind of deters them from climbing over is you can't have a top bar on the fence. The top of the fence has to be like wobbly, They don't like that way. If it's got like a good secure something holding it together at the top, then they'll just climb right over that beam and hop right in. They still can climb over it if you don't have that top beam, but they're less likely to.
Yeah. So, those are the kind of things, but that's the big thing. If you're counting on long-term food storage, if you're counting on your livestock, if you're counting on your garden, you have to come up with a plan to protect it. Another thing, like fruit trees, right? I used to have deer would come in all the time and eat all, the fruit off, also squirrels. But I would plant garlic around the base of the fruit trees. And I have that now with these peach trees that I have, which I got to say that, or I think they're peach trees. I don't even know. But the deer, well, because I don't get any fruit from it. So that's why I don't really know what they are, right? Because like the deer committed.
It's not one apple yet.
But the hell of it. I just know I get garlic at the base and then I'm happy. And I'm like, whatever, I got garlic. Yeah. You take the small victories, right? Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I got going now. But you need to protect your stuff. If it's going to be part of your plan, the other thing is to kind of grow abundance. I know you guys know I go to prepper camp. They have the guy, Rick Austin, who does that. He talks about growing things together that complement each other, but also will like deter insects, or, you plant things that are going to be, help out, right? If you have thorns around your fruit tree, maybe people aren't going to come in and, you have the big rose bush around your fruits. You might not be able to get the fruit, but also the deer,
right.
You stay out of it, right? Yeah, that's the kind of thing, though, is the idea is to have things staggered and stages. Also greenhouses, when you have a lot of predators, are another option that you can maybe think of. I know I just had to buy a bunch of shade cloth, though, for greenhouses in the summer. So, who knows? You got to, find the happy balance, but find a way to protect your stuff so that it lasts. And these are things to think about when you have stores, when you have the options to go buy things and you're able to kind of get it set. Again, so many people want to, I have a bunch of seeds, so everything's going to be okay. And you have this long-term plan, but unless you think of these other things, or unless you're actually doing it day to day, it's not gonna.
Yeah. It won't be the top of your mind. You won't be thinking about having to fight the woodchuck for who gets to eat your vegetables,
but that's the thing. If you stay out and deer keep getting in your garden, maybe you camping out every night, you bag the deer. Obviously, we would never shoot a deer at nighttime because that would be a sin. But I'm just saying, maybe you could kill two birds with one stone, or one deer with one bullet. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's something to think about. But
you ever eat woodchuck? I had a friend of mine that said that they were great, but I've never tried it. Yeah. Said they eat vegetables. They're herbivores, so they're good meat, but I'll never know.
You'll never know. So with that, I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Shot clocks, big shots, upsets, aces. TGL playoffs are here. First, Atlanta Drive starts their repeat run against Los Angeles Golf Club. Then, Rory's Boston Common Golf and Tiger's Jupiter Links face off in their playoff debuts. Who will advance? Keep up. It's playoffs. Tune in Tuesday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. only on ESPN and the ESPN app.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 50% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.